Welcome back. Today I'm going to walk you through how to work with community nodes. Now let me quickly explain what a community node actually is. So it's basically a pre-built connector that someone from the n8n community has created to solve a specific problem or add functionality. So to connect a platform, app or service that n8n doesn't have yet. So the native node or direct integration. So far, you would need to use the HTTP request node. So instead of you having to mess around with APIs, documentation, finding parameters, JSON formats, they have already done all that work for you. So they build these nodes to handle all the backend stuff. And the only thing you need to do is provide your API keys. That's going to save you a lot of time because instead of figuring out how to set up API connections, so all these credentials, parameters, and so on, you can use community nodes. This applies whether you are using n8n Cloud or you are self-hosting n8n. So on the 27th of May, the n8n team announced that these community nodes are now available directly in their cloud platform. So this is actually a big deal because up until now, if you wanted to use this, you had to self-host n8n and set up everything manually. When you scroll down, you can see that they're starting with 25 of the most popular community nodes and partner integrations. So they're planning to gradually expand this library and adding more verified nodes over time. So the goal is to make it much easier to connect to pretty much any service you need without setting up and configuring sometimes very complex HTTP requests. They are investing time into it because they discovered that these community nodes have been really successful and people are using them to solve real problems, and it makes sense to make them more accessible to everyone. Now, in this article, you can read that the ones that are going to be available include things like Tabelit for search, SERP API, even 11 Labs for AI voice, Beyond Presence to create realistic avatar video agents. You will also find nodes supported by chat data, ClickSend, Quadrant, Scrapeless, and so on. So all these nodes will be available to install directly from the editor. Now there is one important thing you need to check first. You have to be ranked version 1.94. So I will go to my n8n, click on admin panel. And here we can see that I'm currently ranked version 1.100.1. In case you are ranked the older version, you will see a notification that the update is available. So just simply click on it and update your n8n instance. Now here is what we need to do next. In the admin panel, we need to click on settings, scroll down. You can see verified community nodes, turn that on, and then click on save changes. So this is going to restart your workspace. So make sure you have saved any workflows you are working on. Now when I go back to my dashboard, you will see it's being back up and making the changes. So once it turns green, we'll be able to click open and get back into our n8n instance. Yes, perfect. So let's open the instance. Now that we are back in, if we go to settings again, you will notice that there is a new option, community nodes. This is where you can install community nodes that have been verified by n8n directly from this panel. But this is much easier than the old way, where you had to install things manually if you were self-hosting n8n. Now let's create a new workflow and see how this works. You can get these templates and more resources for free inside our community. Just use the link in the description. Also, if you want to go deeper, you can join AI Agents Accelerator, where you have the n8n masterclass with over 25 hours of video content that takes you from beginner to pro, plus over 100 ready-to-use AI agents and automations that you can download and import directly into n8n. We also teach how to build voice AI agents and provide technical support to help you with everything you need. So you'll find AI agency owners, no-code AI builders, and like-minded people from all over the world. Again, you are welcome to join using the link in the description. Let's say I want to use 11 Labs for text-to-speech. Normally, without a pre-built community node for 11 Labs, I would need to use the HTTP request node. So let's add HTTP request node. I'm going to show you what I mean. And I would have to go through the API documentation, figure out all the parameters, set up the authentication. So it's quite a process. So let's do it now to see how tedious it can be. And then we'll use the 11 Labs community node to show you how simple it is and how much time you can save. So for the method, we need to use post. And I need to go to 11 Labs API documentation. Here we need to find the API reference section, so text-to-speech endpoints. So basically what we need to do, we need to copy this URL, go back to n8n, and paste it into this field. Then I need to set up headers. So I need to send headers. So now I need to find the header name. So I need to go back to API documentation. As you can see, the headers are required. So I need to copy this, go back to n8n, and paste it right here. And for the value, I need to get my API keys. So I need to go into my 11 Labs account. I need to go to, at the bottom left corner, I need to go to API keys. And here I can create API keys. So let's create new one, community nodes demo, confirm create key. Now copy API key, go back to n8n, and paste it into the value field. Then I need to toggle send body and go to API docs again to add the required fields. I need to scroll down and find request. As you can see, the text string is required. So let's copy it. Let's go back to n8n. We're going to leave the body content type as JSON, paste text into the name field. And in the value field, I will put something like, hi there, community nodes are awesome. And this is how the process looks like. Or alternatively, I can use the car command from the API documentation. So copy this car command. And instead of adding each field manually, I can do this way. So I'm going to add another HTTP request node. I'm going to show you how to set up it in a different way. So what can I do? I can import curl, paste the car command here, and then click import. But I still need to configure it. So I need to add my credentials and so on. Also, to use other actions, like creating a voice clone or transcribing audio, I would need to use different API endpoints. So that means I would need to add another HTTP request node, going through the documentation again, and configuring each node to set up the connection for different actions. Also, I would need to add the voice ID to this URL. I need to go back to my 11 Labs account, go to text-to-speech section, go to voices, copy the voice ID of the voice of our choice, go back to n8n, and include the voice ID in this URL. So replace everything after slash and paste the voice ID here. All of this requires a lot of manual setup. But now, with community nodes, the process of setting up connections with services like, for example, 11 Labs is much easier. Look how much simpler this becomes. So once in the admin panel, you turn on the verified community nodes. So in the settings, you turn on this option. You will be able to install community-built node packages very easily and quickly. So let's go back to our dashboard. And now I can simply search for 11 Labs, and we have this clean node with the 11 Labs logo. And all I need to do is add my credential. So you can see this tick symbol. So this is an official node maintained by 11 Labs. So that means that this is a community node. So let's select it. Let's use this action. So convert text to speech. And all I need to do is add my credential. Go create new credential. Go to your 11 Labs account. Go to settings, API keys. Copy your API key. Create key. Let's toggle off this restriction to give it access to all the actions. You need to remember that an unrestricted API key can be significantly more harmful if leaked. please consider restricting the API key to specific actions. But I'm going to create it for now. Copy it, go back to n8n, and paste it right here. Hit save. And that's it. So I don't have to worry about barrier tokens or any of that authentication complexity. So the community node handles all of that for me. Let's close this pop-up. And now look at this. Instead of having to find voice IDs manually like we did with the HTTP request, I can just choose from a drop-down list of voices. I even have access to my own voice I cloned. I can see Archer, Rachel, and so on. So all the available voices right here. Here you can specify the operation, so text-to-speech, speech-to-text, speech-to-speech, and custom API call. Let me select a dummy for now, and let's test it. Let's say something like community nodes are amazing. And now I will run this and see what we get. So execute step. Now let's download the file. And now let's listen to it.
Community nodes are amazing.
That's exactly what we wanted. Now look at how much simpler that was compared to all the manual setup we had to do with the HTTP request node. What's really nice about these community nodes is that they solve one of the biggest pain points people have, so authentication. With the HTTP request method, you have to figure out exactly how each service wants their API connection to be formatted according to the documentation. But with these community nodes, you just paste in your API key and the node handles all the technical details. Also, with these verified community nodes, you can use other actions as these API endpoints have been configured for us. So you can see how much time and hassle this saves. Instead of spending time figuring out API documentation and troubleshooting authentication issues, you can focus on actually building your workflows. Now here is something cool I want to point out. The community nodes are not just limited to regular workflow steps. You can also use them as AI agent tools and triggers. So let me show you what I mean. I've got a simple AI agent set up here. So if I'm working with an AI agent and I want to add, for example, search capabilities as a tool, I can install the Tavily community node. So let's search for Tavily. As you can see, this is the community node. This is an official node maintained by Tavily. You can recognize it thanks to this tick symbol. So let's install this node. Package has been installed. Now let me go to my Tavily account and grab my credentials, so my API key. I'm going to create new API keys. Community nodes demo. Create. Let's copy it. Let's go back to n8n. Now when I go to add tools to my AI agent, and I search for Tavily, I can see the Tavily tool option right there. So let's select it. And now let's create new credential. Let's paste the API key. And let's save it. Perfect. And now it's ready to go. So this means my AI agent now has access to a web search functionality without additional configuration. Previously, you would need to go to Tavily documentation, use the HTTP request node, and set up the connection manually. Now, thanks to this community node, the process of setting up connection is very simple and quick. You just need to generate API keys and paste it into this field. Now, as for triggers, it depends on what the community node offers. Because some have trigger functionality, some don't. You just need to check when you are browsing available triggers. So on app event, and now when I browse triggers, we can see that there are several community nodes, community triggers available here. So you can recognize them based on this small tick symbol next to them. So you have AI Scraper, you have Appify, you also have Beyond Presence, Brave Search, Browser Flow for LinkedIn, Chat Data, a few more. So the nice thing is that these community packages often include multiple components. So the main node, tools for AI agents, and sometimes triggers too. So you get a complete integration rather than just one piece. Now let's look at how this works if you are self-hosting n8n. So the process is slightly different, but actually just as simple. So now I'm in my self-hosted n8n instance. I self-host n8n on Hostinga. So I will go to Settings at the bottom left corner. and click on community nodes. And here, instead of having a curated list like on the cloud version, where you can browse and search for different community nodes, I can install community nodes directly by typing in the package name. So click on install. And here you can either type the name if you know it, or click browse to see all available n8n community nodes packages. So let's click browse. Let's have a look. As you can see, you have over 1,000 packages found. You can browse them by default, by most downloaded this week, this month, recently published. There's actually a really helpful GitHub repo that lists the top 100 community nodes organized by category. So things like communication messaging nodes, document content generation nodes, browser automation and web scraping nodes, data processing validation and utilities nodes, API to cloud integrations, LLM and voice nodes, file PDF manipulation nodes. I will put a link to that in the resources section of this lesson. For example, in the communication and messaging category, we can see that the top spot is held by Evolution API, which is an alternative to the official WhatsApp Business API. And it's really impressive because it has almost 2 million monthly downloads and gets updated regularly. Here you can see the description, so provides a channel hub focus on WhatsApp. You can see the author, version, and also the link to the documentation. And when I click on that, the documentation is in Portuguese, but I'm actually planning to record a separate tutorial on this one because I've had quite a few students ask me about WhatsApp automation, this Evolution API. But this gives you an idea of how popular and useful these community nodes can be. When you have millions of downloads, people are finding real value in these tools. Now, since we used 11 Labs in our earlier example, let me install the same package in the self-hosted environment. So let's search for 11 Labs. I can click on the package name, which takes me to the npm page for this community node. From here, it's really straightforward. I just copy the package name, go back to n8n. So settings, community nodes, install, paste the npm package name here, hit the check mark to confirm that I understand the risk of installing unverified code from public sources, install. Now I have the 11 Labs node installed. If I create a new workflow, search for 11 Labs, you'll notice that I actually get two options. So this one is verified by an n8n team, and it's maintained by 11 Labs themselves. And this would be the same one we saw in the cloud version. This one, with this little block icon, this is a node from our community. It's a part of the n8n nodes 11 Labs package. So it's a community node that I installed myself, and both work the same way. I can use either one for text-to-speech or any other 11 Labs functionality. Now, if you are running n8n locally, the process is a bit different. You can't just go to settings and install community nodes by typing in the name like we did with the other methods. That's because you need to install the actual node package somewhere that your local n8n can access. So according to n8n's documentation, if you want to manually install a community node using npm, you need to access your Docker shell. So basically, you get into your n8n environment, create a directory for n8n nodes, if it doesn't already exist, and then run the npm install command. For the 11 Labs node we have been using as an example, you'd run the specific npm install command for that package. So each community node will have its npm command listed. So if you are self-hosting n8n locally, refer to GitHub repos. And once you have installed it and listed n8n, the node should appear when you search for it in your workflow. Alright, great. That's how you set up community nodes across all three hosting options. So cloud, self-hosted on VPS, and locally. This is going to save you a lot of time and make your workflows much cleaner. Thanks for watching and see you next time.